This motherfucker's got 200 fucking. If you're not a writer, you're really not going to give a shit about this, but I just have to comment on this again. I've commented on it before, but I want to comment in more detail now. You don't understand how difficult it is as a writer to create dozens and dozens and dozens of characters that are all distinctly different from each other. And I'm not even talking about characters. I leave the artist out of it, just as a writer. Personality differences, names, backstories, abilities. Just personality quirks, way of talking, way of looking at the world. There's been hundreds on this show. We're at episode 94. And there has literally been at least 200 distinctly different characters on the show. At least. You got the 2 or 3 distinct characters on Gon's home island. You know, his mother and aunt and grandmother or some shit. I guess it was aunt and grandmother. So there's those 2, right? There's the 3 or 4 distinctly different characters we saw on the ship that took them across the ocean, right? Then there's the people in the town they met before they made it up to Hunter's Exam. That was 5 or 6, if memory serves. It's been a few months since I've seen that, but that was like 5 or 6 people. Then we get to Hunter's Exam. We had, 5, 6 different teachers. They're all very different. We had at least 20 people he interacted with, a couple of whom came back and then died, were killed by the ants. But we had about 20 people who he interacted with that were just like the dude that was like the lifer just wants to ruin it for everybody else, that punk ass motherfucker, him. And then all these different people he fucking interacted with, okay? So that's like 20 off the top, right? Okay. There's that big fat motherfucker, the woman who taught him that was like the cooking test, and then there was that dude to be walking so fast that, there's those creatures I met in the fucking woods that can simulate other people. Those are like kind of different, distinctly different characters. So you know what I'm saying? So like the Hunter's Exam arc had 20 to 30 distinctly different people. We'll say 30. Let's say 30 because like there were some teachers and shit, and all that stuff. Then there was the prisoners they had to fight to get their one of the last things. That was like 5 or 6 other distinctly different people. When they were in that fucking basically that, what I'm talking about, that fight where they come out one at a time and they were fighting with time and shit or some shit. They had to sit in the room for 50 hours because they lost some time or some crap. So yeah, throw those in the mix. Okay, then we finish that arc. Okay, so then we go to fucking York, New York. You had the 3 people. One of them was in a fucking wheelchair and his 2 buddies. So you had that going on. You had Wing and his protege. Yeah, some of the other random people they had to fight or they interacted with or they watched fight. I think there was a checkout girl. She was kind of distinctly different. There was a little bit, she had a little bit of personality. There was the announcer. She was pretty distinct. So that whole New York, there was probably 10 characters. Let's just say maybe 15, 10 or 15. So what are we up to just at that point? We're up to about 65 to 70 characters. Not even talking about the main group, right? The main 4. Gon, Killua, Leora, and Kurapika, right? So not even talking about them. And, not even talking about Hisoka, right? So those 5, we're not even talking about those. It's just 65, 70 other characters just up to that point. Okay, so then they need to try to make money. And they go to this auction thing. And they're trying to find a game and shit. So oh, by the way, I almost forgot. There's also the thing of going to get Killua. So you have all those distinct characters. You got the members of his family. You got the person in front that they had to deal with the guard. So that's another fucking, 6 or 7 people. Right? So that puts us up to about 80. Then they go to the auction. They meet a couple new characters there. So that we're 85, let's call it. Then we get this big fucking storyline. You got the mob. You got the people against the mob, and you got these people that's showing up trying to buy stuff at this auction and stuff. So, and then Kurapika gets in with a bunch of these fucking people where he's trying to protect somebody. Just the people that Kurapika meets by himself while he's on the job. That's another 10 or 15 people. That's probably 10 people at least, right? So that gets us up to 95. Then there's the people that Gon and Killua meet there while they're at trying to fuck around with this auction. Then there's that group that Kurapika's after. the Phantom Troop, but there was also another group that the Phantom Troop fucked up first. That's just a vague memory at this point. But so just we talk about like all the different people we meet in that particular point in time. Just on the Killua and Gon side of things, is another 20 people. So that there was a lot of different. That's when we really started seeing the multiplication of a bunch of fucking characters. There was just characters every episode. We're meeting 4 or 5 new people, all of them different. So like I said, the whole Phantom Troop. Then we go to Greed Island, and on Greed Island, I swear to God, there must have been, counting the bombers, as dumb as they were, there must have been 40 new characters on fucking Greed Island when it's all said and done. Throughout the entire act, 40 new characters minimum, man. So we're up to like a fucking 150 characters at this point. Then with this whole ant thing, just ants alone, distinctly different characters. Just on the ant side of things, it's been 25 or 30. Easily 25 or 30. Then we got the king and all this shit. So that's another 3 or 4. The king and his personal guard, so that's 4. Just this last episode that I've seen, which was episode 18 of season 5, A Day with Palm. You had the fucking leader of this country. You had his minion, who was just, even though they were not there very long, they were distinctly different characters. We saw no other characters like that in the entire history of the show up to that point. Distinctly different. That's 2 more. The ballerinas, they didn't really have any characterization, so we didn't really see anything. But that's 2 distinctly new characters just there, man. Even though they're there to be killed, they made them original. They made them different. Oh, I'm forgetting Kite. He's new. There's the 2 buddies, just this Anarch I'm talking about, just on the human side of things, not even the ant side of things. We're probably talking, we got that whole group of fucking scientists, Kite's buddies. So that's another 6 or 7 people. The old man's 2 minions that came in, those are new characters. Like, look at this, man. We're up to 200 fucking characters, and we're only 94 episodes into this shit, man. Like, how is that fucking possible? Like, I can't imagine creating that many different characters. I know George R. R. Martin did, but a lot of George R. R. Martin's characters, some of them, I won't say a lot, but I would say 10 to 15% of them are very similar to each other. Especially when he starts talking, he goes back into history, like, the past reflects the future reflects the past, all this shit. So he'll do it intentionally, but it also means he doesn't have to do as much character generation. So it makes me wonder: does this person have a Dungeons and Dragons background or some kind of role playing background? Because if there's one thing role playing games is good at, is generating new characters. So if you can sit there with your Dungeons and Dragon book or your role playing book of some kind, and you could roll up a bunch of shit just randomly. Okay, these are the characteristics. Okay, so they have this amount of strength, so they're going to be big, or, they're skinny, and they're stealthy. If you just randomly roll some shit, and you just say, because you're not trying to actually play with the character, you're just trying to create a character, generate a character, I bet I could roll the dice 6 times, these are attributes, use that, make a character. And then you just got to write out some of the physical characteristics, and they're doing, that's the artist's job. They do a good job with that. And invent a fucking power that most of them are rares, so invent a power for him. Maybe you could do that. Maybe. But, like, my God, like, like I said, if you're not a writer, you're not going to give a shit. But I cannot tell you how impressed I am with so many different fucking characters, because it is extremely difficult. It's really hard for me. I've only written probably 30 scripts, maybe 40 scripts in my entire life. Not counting audio plays. I've written several hundred audio plays. But then, even though you're like, I don't want to get too much in the weeds. Counting audio plays, there's some well-defined characters in audio plays. I probably, in my entire lifetime, have created maybe 400 characters. And I've been writing for all my life, essentially. Maybe that's low. Maybe it's 500 characters in my entire lifetime of writing. Because I wrote some novels, and each novel would have, 3 to 20 characters that you could actually say has a personality. 20 is kind of high, but the audio plays, I've written a shitload of audio plays. A lot of them are just sketches of characters. So, if it's a 10-minute audio play, you're not going to get much characterization there. But still, a lot of my characters are similar to each other. There's certain types of characters, like the sarcastic person, the angry person, the haunted person, and, then the variations of a theme with that, right? But, these are so many different distinctive characters, man. It's just, especially since I'm watching 8 episodes a day. This is getting ready to be my 7th. And it really strikes me just in the amount of time I've been sitting here today watching episodes. How many different characters there are. Just blows my mind, man. It just blows my fucking mind. Yeah, I'm not even going to do this. I'll do this as a separate video. You know, just saying it, just because I just wanted to spend a moment and voice my appreciation. You know, like how incredible this series actually is. You know, like it just, this series is a testament to character generation. Unique, distinctive, original characters that feel three-dimensional. Okay, so we talked about the 200 characters we've run across so far. How many of them feel three-dimensional? Like, feel like actual human beings. I could turn a corner and run into them, and they're real people. Most of them, because they are so different from each other. One of the reasons why some characters don't feel three-dimensional is because they're similar to each other. You know? Fred and George Weasley are very similar to each other, and it's hard to, like, I can't remember, I still to this day can't remember which one of them died and which one of them lived. Spoiler alert. Because I can't tell them apart, because it's not just that you can't tell them apart physically, because we never see them in the books, but you can't tell them apart intellectually or from a character point of view because the characters are the same. So that's when they don't feel three-dimensional. That's an extreme example, but, you know, I'll give you a good example. Dinar Kuntz's characters, the reason I stopped reading him, all feel the same. The male protagonist is always some gun-loving guy who never backs down and, you know, just wants to protect women. The women are always strong and reliant and self-supporting and will defend themselves. You know, those are the two character types. I actually like that female character type, so that's something going for it. But still, every single book it gets bored. And then if there's a kid, and almost always there is, the kid is like between 9 and 12, maybe 13 years old, and they're always sarcastic, and they're always like, you know, they speak way ahead of their years. Like, they sound like they're 18 or 19 when they're 12 or 13. They're always a smart ass. They're always precocious. So his characters are the fucking same. You take... One time I was bored and I had a shitload of his books, so I read about 10 or 15 of his books in a row. Characters are all the fucking same, man. He can't create 6 characters that are different from each other. He can only create 3. You know, man, woman, kid. That's it. The next book, it's the same thing. Man, woman, kid. The exact same kind of kid. Every now and then the kid will be a boy. Sometimes it'll be a girl. That's about the only difference. You know, so he can't create 4 characters that are different from each other. Because once he gets past 3, he starts repeating himself. This motherfucker's got 200 fucking characters that are different from each other. Blows my fucking mind. Okay, I'm going to stop now. But this is just a love letter to the show. I felt like it needed to be said. So it started out as an intro to 519, but, like, you know, it's just going to be its own video at this point. But yeah, man, I fucking, you know, I can't imagine every anime is this good as far as, like, distinctly different characters. Matter of fact, let me know in the comments, do you think that, like, from everything I've talked about in this video, are there other anime that have this many fucking, minimum of 200 characters that every one of them feels different from each other? Minimum. Let me know. Because I don't know if I can go to some standard generic ass anime after this where every 5th character is the same, man. I don't know if I can do that, man. Like, I've been eating steak at the finest restaurant, drinking fine wine. I can't go to McDonald's after that, man. I'm not going to anime McDonald's after this. Let me know.